The wilderness of the Sword Coast isn't just filled with monsters and bandits. It's also home to strange and mysterious figures, astrologers who speak in riddles, wandering magicians with unknown powers, or shady merchants looking to scam unsuspecting adventurers. In this episode, we're diving back into the wilds to meet these unusual characters and uncover their secrets. The peninsula known as Shipwreck's Coast is where we can encounter a mysterious man. Upon meeting him, he offers free healing. If we ask him who he is, the man explains that people call him the Surgeon. He wanders the lands, healing those in need as a way to atone for the sins of his past. As he reveals, his sin was a foolish act of kindness. He had a brother, an evil man named Daveon. The Surgeon once had the chance to kill him but chose to spare his life. This act of mercy, however, came at a great cost, as many lives were lost at his brother's hands, including their fathers. The Surgeon mentions that he has heard Daveon has arrived in this region, so he has followed, determined to correct his past mistake. Daveon indeed appears in the game as a significant character encountered during the main storyline. He oversees the Iron Throne's operations in the Cloakwood Mines and takes direct orders from Rieltar, one of the leaders of the Iron Throne in Baldur's Gate. We face him at the end of Chapter 4 in his lair on the lowest level of the mines, and defeating him is crucial to progressing into Chapter 5. In the forest, known as the Wood of Sharp Teeth, in the area referred to as Peldvale, a picturesque land filled with small lakes, we can encounter a hunter named Ted. The conversation with him isn't particularly exciting and doesn't reveal much. It's mostly him telling a story about his uncle, who was also a hero, until of course he got an arrow in the knee, the classic tale that we've all heard before. However, the real interesting fact about Ted lies in his name. In the original Baldur's Gate, without the expansion Tales of the Sword Coast, his name was only revealed if we approach the conversation in a specific way. The character was simply called Hunter. After installing the expansion, his name was changed to Palin. But here's the twist. This name was already used in the expansion, as one of the werewolves on the island of Balduran also bore the name Palin. Both of these characters were named Palin until 2012, when Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition was released. In this updated version, the hunter's name was changed to Ted, but what's even funnier is that there are still two Palins in the game. The second one was added in the Enhanced Edition. He's a hunter who accompanies Aldeth Sashenstar, and we can meet him in the Cloakwood Forest. His is probably the only instance in the game where one name is repeated in such a way. Clearly, someone working on the game had a special affection for that name. As we cross the majestic Firewine Bridge, we can encounter a bard named Poe. He is friendly and eager to share his latest composition, titled The Knights of Days Hence. This bard is, of course, a reference to the 19th century American poet Edgar Allan Poe. Interestingly, the poem serves as an introduction to a quest that we can undertake in the nearby ruins. There, we will encounter the ghosts of knights, whom we learn were betrayed by one of their companions and are unable to find peace until their traitorous brother joins them in death. In the first area we explore after leaving the walls of Candlekeep, we can encounter a guy named Chase. You'll find him to the west, standing right on the edge of a cliff. When we talk to him, it turns out that Chase is planning to jump off said cliff. At this point, we're left with a choice. We can either encourage him to jump, try to talk him out of it by reminding him that life is worth living, or just shrug it off and show no interest. Oddly enough, no matter what dialogue option you choose, Chase won't actually jump. If we encourage Chase to jump, he'll be shocked. He starts yelling that he's in pain, that no one cares, and that his family would probably be happy if he were gone. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn. Chase suddenly digs in his heels, declaring that if jumping would be doing them a favor, then he won't do it just to spite them. In fact, he'll make it his mission to be the worst child imaginable, purely out of spite. Of course, this doesn't really change much, but at least now Chase has an excuse for his behavior. As he walks away, he leaves us with a final, almost ironic remark. Life is good. If you tell him not to jump, he'll agree with you. You'll also learn This isn't the first time he's been in the situation, but every time, someone has talked him out of it. And if you take the meh whatever route and show zero interest in his dilemma, Chase will interpret your indifference as a vote of confidence in his will to live, and then walk away with a new lease on life. Kind of a weirdly wholesome outcome for a guy teetering on the edge of disaster, right? In High Hedge, near the estate of the mage Thalantir, we encounter a thief named Pomidian Stark, who's scheming to rob the wizard's treasures. He informs us that the estate is guarded by 2 flesh golems, making brute force an unviable option for breaking in. Pomidian shares his frustration about being unable to figure out a way to deal with the golems. Ultimately, he decides that attempting this heist is more trouble than it's worth. Instead, he resolves to search for easier prey, setting off in pursuit of small, halfling villages, leaving the challenge of the mage's estate to us. Honestly, I can't help but laugh at the fact that he gives up robbing a powerful mage only to settle for terrorizing halfling villages. It's like watching someone quit their dream of being a dragon slayer and decide, you know what? Chickens are easier. South of the Temple of Lathander, we encounter a nobleman named Ashen, who serves as a classic example of how aristocrats are portrayed in Baldur's Gate. He approaches us for one simple reason: to tell us to step away from him. Ashen reveals that he hails from Waterdeep and claims his presence in this backwater region is purely business-related. The conversation is brief, but leaves no doubt about his disdain for us and the entire area. He mocks the locals for living like animals, dwelling in filth, being surrounded by bandits, and lacking even a decent bathhouse. Ashen is a perfect representation of the game's depiction of nobility. Many of them are pompous blowhards who waste no time making their contempt for the lower classes abundantly clear. It's almost impressive how much arrogance can fit into one short interaction. Northwest of Nashkel, in the area known as Fisherman Lake, we meet 2 fishermen, Torlo and Chellan. Both are former miners who were forced to change their professions due to the ongoing iron crisis. Their new line of work helps them feed their families, even if it wasn't their first choice. When we speak to Torlo, he immediately scolds us for making too much noise, claiming we're scaring off the fish. If we continue the conversation, he shares his perspective on the situation. While he's not thrilled about being forced to leave the mines, he takes a practical approach. He understands the dangers of working underground in these difficult times of the iron crisis and reasons that it's better to be a living fisherman than a dead miner. After all, someone has to keep food on the table, right? Chellan, on the other hand, is a bit of an oddball but tries to maintain an upbeat outlook. Losing his mining job hasn't crushed his spirits. Instead, he focuses on the bright side. Sure, he lost his old job and had to become a fisherman, but now he can enjoy the sun, which will undoubtedly work wonders for his complexion. It's all about finding the silver lining, isn't it? Not far from where we meet Drist in Fisherman Lake, we encounter one of the Chill Bandits, a group of raiders composed mostly of hobgoblins. The bandit wastes no time threatening us, demanding food and healing, and claiming that his buddies from the Chill will deal with us if we don't comply. Classic, my friends will get you, intimidation. If we refuse his demands, he responds by doubling down on the threats, warning us that we'll regret this decision. However, if we stand our ground and threaten him back, it quickly becomes clear that he's more bark than bite. The bandit caves under pressure and starts begging for his life. In an effort to save himself, he's willing to spill some information about his group. He reveals that the Chill are bandits who've been targeting merchant caravans in the area. Interestingly, if we charm him, he shares additional details, claiming that his group was hired by the Gentarim to carry out their raids. This, of course, turns out to be nothing more than a false rumor, but it adds an intriguing layer to the tangled web of conspiracies we unravel during our journey. This small encounter, while brief, showcases Baldur's Gate's ability to add depth to even minor interactions, giving players multiple ways to resolve conflicts and uncover additional details about the larger plot. In the Bear River Valley, located north of the Knoll Stronghold, we encounter the most eloquent and cultured bandit on the entire Sword Coast. Our party can easily spot a group of hobgoblins hiding in nearby bushes, ready to back up Neville if things go south. If we kindly ask him to have his friends leave the bushes, pointing out that the foliage might not be the most comfortable hiding place, Neville regretfully admits that he cannot comply with such a courteous request. He and his band promptly attack us instead. Alternatively, we can humor him with an equally polite counteroffer, to have him and his associates escort us through the nearby territories, ensuring protection from any evil that might cross our path. Neville finds this suggestion amusing, even acknowledging that he could indeed protect us from such dangers, if not for the small issue that he and his gang are the danger. Unsurprisingly, this dialogue also ends with an attack. However, the most entertaining option is to play the classic Uno reverse card, flipping the script and demanding that Neville hand over everything he has or else. This turn of events thoroughly amuses the bandit. Laughing, he agrees to take only a small portion of our gold before leaving with his gang in search of their next victim. While traveling through the Bear River Valley, we might stumble upon an ogre resting by his campfire. Surprisingly, the conversation with him starts off rather amicably, considering he's an ogre. He warns us not to disturb him as he's in the middle of his meal, but reassures us that once he's done, he'll deal with us. The dialogue ends there, for now. However, if we persist and bother him again, the ogre lets us know that he's finished his main course and is ready to make us his dessert. He gleefully declares that he'll turn us into pudding. Pudding. Dreaming of his sweet treat, the ogre attacks us. Of course, if we'd rather our hero not end up as dessert, we defend ourselves and ultimately defeat him. Near the lighthouse to the west of the High Hedge, home to Thalantir the Conjurer, we may come across a scholar named Palonia. She is an astrologer, and much like the hermit Portal Bendavinden, she expresses her frustration at being constantly visited by people seeking answers in the stars to the problems plaguing the Sword Coast. According to her, the Sword Coast is far from being the center of the universe, and there are lands beyond with far greater issues. If we steer the conversation correctly, Polonia reveals that, just across the southern mountains, there are troubles brewing in Great Amn that will make our current concerns seem small by comparison. This is, of course, a reference to the second game in the series, where Amn serves as the central setting. She also mentions a city where winter never comes, noting that it hasn't been heard from in a long time, but will soon fill with new inhabitants. This, in turn, is a nod to Neverwinter Nights, released in 2002. Polonia and her foresight serve as another clever Easter egg in which the developers sneak hints about their upcoming games. While traversing the area known as the Dryad Falls, east of the Gnoll Fortress, we may encounter a gang of gnolls, led by Ludrug. He will demand a tribute from us, claiming that we have trespassed on territory controlled by his gang. Interestingly, aside from the standard ways of dealing with the situation, such as paying the tribute or engaging in a full-scale fight with the entire gang, we can also, through the dialogue options, challenge Ludrug to an honorable one-on-one duel. If we win, Ludrug and his companions will retreat, and we will be free to move about the area without further hindrance. However, if we lose, the Gnoll will mock our weakness, and he and his band will attack to finish us off. This encounter is quite unique, as it represents the only honorable one-on-one fight with a monster in the game. Fireleaf Forest is also the location where we can encounter Vax and Zal, two seemingly ordinary bandits. In the typical bandit style, they inform us that we've strayed from the beaten path, and that this is an unfortunate turn of events for us. Vax suggests that we hand over all our money, or else his partner, Zal, the fastest dart thrower in the West, will take matters into his own hands. This is, of course, a reference to the popular idiom, the fastest gun in the West, typically associated with Western films and TV shows. In those stories, someone who could draw their gun the fastest and shoot their opponent would be known as the fastest gun in the West. In this case, Zal is portrayed like a gunslinger. If we refuse to hand over our money, he will swiftly draw his dart, throwing it with deadly precision and kill us on the spot. However, if we're not intimidated by his threats and accept his challenge, we will indeed see that Zal is quite skilled at his craft. His main secret, though, is the braces of archery, which enhance his chances of hitting a target. After defeating him, we can claim these braces for ourselves. In the Valley of the Tombs, we can encounter an elven wizard named Narsilicus Harwilliga Neen. He will approach us saying we've arrived just in time to witness his grand experiment. If we ask him what he's specifically researching, he'll share his rather peculiar interest. His passion and life's project involve figuring out how to control gelatinous creatures like slimes, jellies, and oozes. However, he's clearly not a good person or a responsible researcher. During one of the dialogues, he'll reveal that he released several of his experimental subjects into the surrounding forests, thus putting travelers in grave danger. If we criticize him for these actions, he'll unleash his creations on us. Alternatively, if we try to persuade him to teach us his methods of controlling the gelatinous creatures, he will become enraged, accusing us of wanting to acquire the results of his hard work so easily, and he will attack us. In the Gibberling Mountains region, we can encounter a gnome named Hafiz bin Watat. He will approach us, introducing himself as a mage, scientist, and astrologer. If we share our name with him, Hafiz will claim to know us and say that he has seen our face in his dreams. Very bloody dreams. In these dreams, he also saw someone else, someone very evil, and these dreams always ended with either his death or ours, depending on how we steer the conversation and what we share about ourselves. Hafiz may offer us a protection from magic's scroll to defend ourselves from the six who serve the killer of our father. Alternatively, we could lead the conversation in a way that results in a fight with Hafiz, or he may simply leave without another word. Hafiz is yet another astrologer we encounter in the game. There seems to be a lot of them. Interestingly, Hafiz is an Arabic name, meaning one who remembers, or literally keeper. It's also a title for someone who has memorized the entire Quran. The bin in his name means son of, so his name literally indicates that he is the son of someone named Watat. Near the Firewine Bridge, we can encounter a character named Bentan. He is a fervent follower of Ilmater, and with great determination, he will try to convince us to join his faith. Essentially, any response other than declaring that everyone in our party is a devoted follower of Ilmater, or calling him a boring old man, will lead to a long litany where Bentan explains why his religion is the best and why we should join his church. An interesting dialogue option comes up when we tell him that there are mages in our party. Bentan will express disgust at the idea of anyone practicing the repulsive magic, which he considers any magic not derived from his god. But even so, he will continue his mission to convert us. It's definitely an intriguing and unique encounter, and it's not something you come across every day in RPGs. At the eastern end of Firewine Bridge, we can encounter a warrior who introduces himself as Mailum, the best swordsman on the Sword Coast. He claims to be quite famous, though it's hard to verify this, as beyond this encounter, there's absolutely no mention of Malum anywhere in the entire universe. We can tease him a bit, suggesting we've never heard of him before. If we continue to poke fun at him, he'll eventually get frustrated and challenge us to a duel. It's worth taking him on, as defeating him rewards us with the useful gauntlets of weapon expertise. While exploring the area around the abandoned Alcaster school, we can come across a gnome named Furret. He will offer us a very tempting deal, claiming to possess a magical gem of true seeing, which supposedly allows the user to see the truth in all things. This marvelous gem can become ours for a mere 1,000 gold pieces. Unfortunately, if we fall for this offer, it quickly becomes apparent that the gnome has swindled us. The gem is nothing more than a turquoise stone worth only a few gold coins. Furret, like the dishonest merchant Borda, is just another opportunist roaming the Sword Coast, looking to profit from unsuspecting adventurers. Interestingly, if we manage to charm the gnome, he will openly admit the truth. He will confess that he spent all his last savings on this worthless stone, which is cursed, and now he's desperately trying to find a way to get rid of it. If we venture far enough away from the safe streets of Beregost and head deep into the wilderness to the east, we may encounter Mutamin, a mad gnome wizard. Somehow, likely through magic, he controls a pack of basilisks that roam the area. At his command, they turn any travelers who stray from the safe paths into stone statues. The wizard is completely insane, and after a brief conversation, regardless of our responses, a confrontation will occur. If we defeat him, we can put an end to his horrific actions. However, if we lose, we will become permanent additions to his terrifying collection. The only one of these enchanted victims that we can restore to life is Tama, Unfortunately, the maximum reward we can receive for this heroic act is a reputation point and a few experience points, but only if we don't demand any reward. Interestingly, if we become overly greedy and insist on a reward, she will reluctantly offer us her home. Located south of Beragost, this home, however, is in complete ruins and has been consumed by the swamps. It's uninhabitable and worth nothing. In the end, we will be left with nothing at all. There's another interesting encounter linked to Mutaman's garden, where we can meet Korax, a friendly ghoul. He has some surprisingly heartwarming dialogues, like the ones you see on the screen now. Unfortunately, Korax's friendly demeanor is only temporary. He is helping us because he is under the influence of a charm spell. As soon as the spell wears off, Korax turns against us. His presence is mainly a clever way for the creators to assist us in dealing with the basilisks in the area. As a ghoul, Korax is immune to the basilisk's petrifying gaze, so he can be very useful in the fight against them. Near the Temple of Lathander, we can come across an astrologer named Galileus, a clear nod to the famous Italian scientist Galileo Galilei. He doesn't have much to share with us, though. All we learn is that he's been studying the skies for a long time and concludes that we're about to live in interesting times. He speculates that even the heavens seem to watch our world with keen interest and that great conflicts loom on the horizon. After this cryptic conversation, he leaves, never to be seen again. Encounters with astrologers, sages, and prophets are nothing out of the ordinary in Baldur's Gate. Only in the first game, we meet figures like Portal Bendarvinden, Arkushula, Polonia, Hafiz, and of course, Galileus. Despite their differences, all these meetings share a common thread. Each of these enigmatic characters hints, in their own cryptic way, at a looming darkness on the horizon. It's as if they're warning us that storm clouds are gathering, that something ominous is coming. This ever-present sense of impending doom, growing stronger with each encounter, is one of the things that, in my opinion, truly enhances the game's atmosphere. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this journey through the wilderness of the Sword Coast. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. See you next time.